Hi guys! Today we're going to take a sneak peek at the best Sony mirrorless cameras in the market. So if you're planning on buying one, then you're in the right place. Please do check out the description below to see all the featured products and their buy links. Let's get started. Sony Alpha 7R4. This Sony A7R4 is the company's 4th generation high-resolution full-frame mirrorless camera and is built around a BSI-CMOS sensor that outputs 60.2 megapixel images. Relative to previous generations, it promises more robust build quality, refined controls, and the company's latest autofocus implementation, and more. Despite its high resolution, it can shoot at up to 10 frames per second with full autofocus and shoot 4K video either from the entire width of its sensor or from an APS-C Super 35 crop. It also gains a 16-shot high-resolution mode that can be used to generate 240 megapixel images of static scenes. The Mark IV's improvements over the Mark III aren't as headline-grabbing. The more straightforward, more powerful autofocus system and user interface refinements play a significant role as the move from 42 to 60 megapixels. The most significant change with the Mark IV is that it's difficult to appreciate without using the camera. Implementing what Sony calls real-time tracking autofocus makes a massive difference to the camera's performance and usability. The A7R4 can shoot at 10 frames per second, a rate that was the preserve of specialist, low-res sports cameras until comparatively recently. Sony ZV-1. The Sony ZV-1 is the best compact vlogging camera you can buy. Its mix of a bright lens, superb autofocus, and design tweaks like the side-flipping screen make it a powerful pocket video option with few peers. Those seeking super smooth walking footage might find its image stabilization a slight letdown, and it has a few familiar usability quirks. Still, the ZV-1 remains the best video all around in its weight class. Its main strength is the combination of a bright 24 70mm f1.8 to 2.8 lens with Sony's real-time tracking and real-time eye autofocus systems. Together with the ZV-1's 1-inch sensor, which is more significant than those in today's smartphones, these make it easy to shoot high-quality vlogs with pleasing background blur and consistent focus. Including a 3.5mm microphone port, which means it's relatively easy to add good quality audio to match your videos. At the same time, the hot shoe lets you mount accessories like a shotgun mic or LED light without needing a bracket to support them. Sony A9 II. The Alpha 9 II is Sony's latest high-end sports camera and can silently shoot 24 megapixel images at up to 20 frames per second with no blackout between frames. If that sounds familiar, it's because the A9 II's predecessor was similarly capable. Still, this new version brings some refinements and enhancements to make for a formidable yet compact option for professional sports and action photographers. One of the most significant updates is a new mechanical shutter mechanism that allows for 10 FPS bursts, which is significant because if you find yourself in a situation where you can't use the electronic shutter for risk of banding or other artifacts, the older model can only muster 5 FPS, which is a bit uninspiring on a camera meant to specialize in sports and activities. Suddenly, this is a camera that will give you a solid burst rate in just about any setting, rather than being best suited for brightly lit outdoor venues. With some additional ergonomic tweaks, the Alpha 9 II evolves its predecessor's revolutionary capabilities, but it remains impressively compact and speedy. Sony A6100. The Sony A6100 is a 24 megapixel APS-C mirrorless camera aimed squarely at beginners and people who want attractive photos but don't necessarily think of photographers. A new powerful autofocus system makes it one of the most accessible cameras to use if you trust it to do its thing and concentrate instead on what you're shooting. The A6100's specifications aren't cutting edge, and it's priced accordingly. And that simple, effective autofocus system means it makes it easy to get the photos you want and hence, arguably, it's better value than those less expensive rivals. On paper, it looks a lot like the bargain basement A6000, but this is a vastly better camera in use. Sony calls its new AF system real-time autofocus tracking. In its marketing materials, it's the best AF system we've ever used for focusing on people. Its cleverness is in how good it is at recognizing people and then reacting accordingly. The A6100 looks a lot like the A6000, and indeed, like every other model in its company's current APS-C lineup. Unlike the more expensive models, it's made from plastic. It's a relatively solid feeling plastic, and the camera's grip is coated with a comfortable grippy rubber. It got both a 1.44 m OLED electronic viewfinder and a 0.9 m LCD tilting rear touchscreen, giving more easiness to use the camera. Sony Alpha C7. The Sony Alpha C7 is the company's latest and smallest full-frame interchangeable lens camera. It fits a 24 megapixel full-frame sensor and image stabilization into a body more closely resembling the APS-C sensor A6100. A lot of work has gone into making this one of the most miniature full-frame cameras available, whereas many of the features and capabilities are familiar. A new retractable kit zoom is being launched along with the A7C to help maintain those size savings. The A7C gets Sony's latest autofocus implementation, which the company calls real-time tracking autofocus. This follows whatever subject you want to track, both in stills and video shooting, and automatically uses its eye, face, and head recognition where appropriate. This autofocus system is better than the one used on the A7 III in several ways. The main one is that all the tracking and eye detection capabilities are better integrated into the main autofocus modes, meaning you don't have to hold down a second button to utilize eye detection. The A7C joins the Pro Video A7S III in gaining a fully articulated screen. And while we often think of articulating screens in terms of video or selfie shooting, there's another respect in which it can be a practical design. Sony Alpha A6400. Sony's A6400 is a compact 24 megapixel mirrorless interchangeable lens camera with an APS-C sensor that will serve many photographers from family documentarians to pro shooters looking for a lightweight second body. The big news is that it has a new processor based on Sony's sports shooting flagship A9, which enables real-time tracking autofocus, which is one of the most effective autofocus implementations we've seen yet. It's also among the easiest to use once you've got it set up. The A6400's Biomes X processor is not the same chip as the professional level A9, but it is related. Another enhancement, though, is the removal of the 30-minute video record time limit on the A6400. While this isn't strictly related to the processor, we've noticed after extended video recording that the camera didn't get anywhere near as hot as previous models, which is likely due to processing enhancements. The A6400 gains built-in interval shooting, a function that had to be added as an app or was utterly absent from previous models.
Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, then hit the like button and subscribe to our channel if you loved it. Take a moment to hit the bell icon so you'll get notified of all our new latest uploads.